What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome in to another edition of the NFL Weekly, folks. We are getting close. It is week 16, only 3 weeks left of football as we get ready for not only week 16, but obviously the Christmas holiday coming up here in about 5 days as we are recording on the oops, I don't have my date up. What's the date? The 20th.
On the 20th
of December. And that voice you're hearing is, of course, my friend and co-host Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Happy holidays to everybody out there. I hope everybody, again, I've been doing it for 2 weeks and now I'm down to single digits. You only got about 4 days left, folks. So if you don't have your presents in the mail, you can forget it. And if you don't have them under your tree, you might as well just tell everybody it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, and you're speaking to me because I have to start my Christmas shopping as soon as we finish up today. See how much I can get done through Amazon Prime. And then, as I always do, go buy some backup gift cards in case it doesn't show up on time. Hey, at least I got a gift card to hold you over until it does show up. But yeah, I'm a procrastinator, but I've done it pretty much my entire life. So I've perfected it, or at least as close as you can get to perfecting it. Yeah, it's going to be a stressful 4 days, but you know what? What can you do? I also have a great family that if for whatever reason something does happen, I still get to eat Christmas dinner. So that's a plus. But with that being said, obviously, as I said, 16 weeks, or we are looking at week 16, but we are now through 15 weeks of the NFL season. And right before me and Raider Jim hit record, at least I admitted that despite us being 15 weeks into this season, I have no idea. And that's definitely not the best way to keep you tuned in, but it's just been a crazy season and it's continuing. Going to take a quick look at the playoff picture. The AFC, I mean, both conferences are pretty convoluted. The AFC, only one team has clinched a playoff spot. That is the Ravens. They are currently the 1 seed. And they look pretty, well, it's going to be interesting this week. But they look like they're going to be a pretty safe bet to keep that 1 seed. Then you have, of course, the Miami Dolphins. They are 10-4. They are currently the 2 seed, first place in the AFC East. Kansas City is the 3 seed at 9-5, also first place in the AFC West. And then the Jaguars at 8-6. They are the 4 seed, the first place team in the AFC South. And those Cleveland Browns, my goodness, Joe Flacco, what a pickup he's been. They're the 5 seed, the top wildcard team at 9-5. And then we get into the 8-6s. Currently, the Cincinnati Bengals, I wrote them off. I think a lot of people wrote them off. They are a few wins away from making the playoffs. And then Indianapolis, another team that I think was written off a lot earlier. They're 8-6. They are the final wildcard team. The Texans and Bills are on the outside looking in. They're both 8-6. One note on the Bills, however, the Bills are actually kind of a sexy pick to win the AFC East, because if they win out and Miami does falter this weekend, we'll get to that game in a bit, then that final weekend would be a winner take all for the AFC East. Buffalo has the Chargers and New England before ending with Miami. So you have to imagine at least Buffalo will do their part on that. Anyways, moving further down the list, the 7-7 Steelers, 7-7 Broncos kind of round out the teams that are, you know, really in the hunt. No disrespect to the AFC West Raiders and Chargers, but they would need a lot to get in. Technically not eliminated there. And then on the NFC side, we do see a little more, at least, not as convoluted. 3 teams already have their playoff tickets booked. Current 1 seed, the San Francisco 49ers, they're 11-3, tops in the NFC West. Dallas Cowboys, for about 24 hours, they were not the top team in the NFC East, but they reclaimed that. They are currently the 2 seed at 10-4. However, the Eagles Also, with the playoff spot clinch, they are currently the 5 seed. They have a very easy schedule. We'll get to them in a bit, trust me. But they are the 5 seed. That is locked up. Moving further down, you have the Lions and Buccaneers at 3 and 4. Lions 10 and 4. Buccaneers 7 and 7. As we say, somebody's got to win the NFC South. And then obviously the Eagles at 5, Vikings at 6, Rams at 7. Both of those teams are 7 and 7, and we continue to work down through the 7 and 7. Seahawks and Saints both with that mark at 8 and 9, respectively. And then we have the Falcons at 6 and 8, Packers at 6 and 8, and I'm not going to go into the Giants and all that stuff. But as crazy as the NFC South is, there is a chance we get 2 NFC South teams in the playoffs. Pretty crazy, but I think that more speaks to how nutty the season has gone. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the playoff picture and really the season, or I'm sorry, I should say last week, your thoughts.
It's that same thing that I said last week. You know, it continue. I look at this playoff schedule and I still can only use the word diluted. Football has become diluted. 7 and 7 teams fighting for playoff spots. But if I take that away, which is the obvious, and you start looking at this picture like you would the stock market, how would I do this? San Francisco 49ers are still a very strong buy, in my opinion. I think they're going to be the guys to beat in the NFC. Dallas and Detroit. I would say go ahead and buy those, continue to buy them because they're not going to go anywhere. Detroit may be questionable because which Detroit team is going to show up? Now, you and I both thought that the Detroit Lions were going to have a real issue against the Denver Broncos last week. And I don't know if it was Denver slapped themselves in the head before they walked out on the field or if Denver came back and is starting to show what they're really made of. But that game was just a travesty. Tampa Bay, here we are. We got a 7 and 7 team holding in the 4 spot. And I wouldn't tell you to buy that stock for anything because I think it's got to happen. Somebody has to represent the NFC South. So that's just the way it is. My question as I go through this, though, and maybe during the week 15 thoughts that you give or game picks when we get that far, is it time for the Eagles to start having a little bit of concern? And I don't know. They gave up 10 points in the 4th quarter last week against Seattle. And everybody, you know, one of the great clips of the week is watching Kelsey take the ball and move it an extra 3 feet up with his right arm before he snaps it. And how many of the Chiefs fans must have been jumping up and down with why isn't it this? And, you know, if he was lined up off sides, this just creates a whole other problem as far as NFC or NFL officiating goes. But I'll let you deal with the trials of the Eagles.
I got plenty. I got plenty.
The Rams at 7 and 7. There's a stock that I would buy because you know what? They're playing pretty darn good. They are starting to come around. And it's almost like March Madness when it comes right down to it. If you can string together that 1 3-game winning streak, hey, guess what? You're all of a sudden in the Super Bowl. So let's see what happens with the Rams. If they put it together just right, anything can happen. In the AFC, yeah, Baltimore and San Francisco. One thing we get to look forward to this holiday weekend is all the professionals and all the announcers and all the sportscasters on radio talking about the Super Bowl preview. Are we going to see the Super Bowl preview, the 49ers going against the Ravens? Yeah, probably not. I would tell you probably not. It looks like that right now. That's what it should be, but I don't see it playing out that way. Baltimore is going to stumble. I just don't know where, but they will stumble somewhere in the playoffs. And again, referring to March Madness, you can be the Gonzaga Bulldogs with no losses going into March Madness. All you got to do is lose one. And guess what? Your shot at the national title is done. So that's what is going to happen somewhere along the way. Cincinnati, you're absolutely right. We wrote them off in week 3, and here they are. Bad news on their wide receiver. Apparently, he's got a pretty banged up shoulder. Hasn't practiced all week, but I don't think that's enough to discount them and say that they won't come out and play strong. Cleveland's that quiet kid in the corner that your mom tells you about. Always watch out for the quiet one. And look at them hanging around at 9-5. I think that they're going to be positioned just where they want to be. What'd you say, Joe Flacco? Who's having the last laugh now in that situation? So, wow, it's just it is convoluted out there. It's diluted and convoluted, and I'm standing by that. But it's almost playoff time.
Yeah. My thoughts on the playoff picture, obviously, the Chiefs at 3. It's crazy. And maybe this is just it's been ingrained in me and all that stuff, but I still look at the AFC and I look at it as Kansas City's to lose. And I know they've struggled, but I think as crazy as it is, I would trust Patrick Mahomes and that offense. I know they've struggled in January more than either Miami or Baltimore. So that's crazy. Now, the one caveat is we've never seen Patrick Mahomes play a true playoff road game. And if everything stays where it is right now, there's a possibility we would see that. Obviously, the Dolphins would have to take care of business 2 weeks in a row, I believe. Or no, they would just have to take care of business in the wild card round. And obviously the Chiefs would as well. But even then, a trip to Miami isn't a crazy road game. So that's going to be interesting, or even an AFC title game that won't be at Arrowhead. But at the very same time, both Miami and Baltimore have some pretty tough schedule coming forward. So there still is a road for the Chiefs to somehow get that 1 seed. And then in the NFC, I just think the San Francisco 49ers are head and shoulders above everybody right now. And it's not close. And now, as you said, Raider Jim, 60 minutes, anything can happen. But I don't know how you can make a true gambling argument about any team beating this. Now, obviously, Monday night, Christmas night, we are going to get a final little present before we all have to go back to work with that Baltimore-San Francisco game. But that's going to be really telling. I think if San Francisco comes out and beats Baltimore by 10 or more points, I mean, it'd be really difficult for me to get excited about this playoff run. I mean, I still will be, don't get me wrong, but just a juggernaut running forward. One thing, well, two things really, but before I get to the Eagles, going back to last weekend, I haven't really, thought about it too much. Obviously, I live here in San Diego and pretty much, my entire life, the Chargers were here and that was my team. The Eagles were my number 2 team because of my dad. And then we obviously know what happened. They ended up packing up, going up north. Well, about 20 years before that, it was the Houston Oilers who picked up and went to Tennessee, rebranded and all that stuff. Now we fast forward to 2023, and I could not imagine being a Houston football fan. So you're old enough to remember the Oilers and probably loved the Oilers, saw them go to Tennessee. The first year they're in Tennessee, they're within a yard of a Super Bowl win. And then we get to 2023, you have your own team. Hey, CJ Stroud looks good, blah, blah, blah. Haven't had a ton of success. And then we get a December day in Nashville where you show up and the entire field is Houston Oilers adorned, and the entire Tennessee Titan are wearing Oilers gear and all that stuff. I understand the legality of it, but how the NFL can allow this to happen. Now, I know Houston went in and got the job done and they'll feel good and everyone can say, oh, they played for that's not how it works. This is going to happen again. I just think this is a massive FU to the fans. And I just think if NFL had any self-awareness and actually cared about the fans, they wouldn't allow this, because I just think this is a massive reminder of the FUs that these billionaires give to the people that have essentially kept them afloat or kept their franchise afloat. So I don't know. I even in the, my family group chat, I said, if the Oilers score, that's Houston. They should give the points to the HOU team at the bottom of my score. All I see is Tennessee. Tennessee isn't playing right now. It's the Houston Oilers, but the Houston Texans. Anyways, just my soapbox. In terms of the Eagles, and I had to cut this because I have so many thoughts but Raider Jim has a life, and I have to let him get back to it at some point. But for the Eagles, this past Monday night was a debacle. And look, you can make excuses for Jalen Hurts, you can make excuses for this, and you can make excuses for that. I'm not even pointing fingers at Matt Patricia. I thought Matt Patricia called a pretty good game. He wasn't the one who missed, seemed like 17 tackles in the fourth quarter. James Bradbury, every single catch on the 92-yard game-winning drive, James Bradbury allowed it. Eli Ricks and Kelly Ringo, those guys were really good. They're young players. They were really good. James Bradbury was really, really bad. And he's the guy that we need to now rely on with Darius Slay going down. He's getting arthroscopic knee surgery, but they're like, oh, he'll be back by the end of the year. I'm not a medical professional, but that does not add up. Anyways, now on the offensive side of the ball, Jalen Hurts' decision-making is not up to par. There, I said it. You look at the final drive where they're trying to get within field goal range. Unfortunately, all we need, 15 yards, 20 yards, and we're in Jake Elliott's field goal range. There's 20 seconds left. We have 2 timeouts. Chucking the ball up 40 yards down the field to get picked off into double coverage. Dump it down. Let Jake Elliott do what he's got to do. If you have no timeouts, I understand pushing the ball down the field. They had 2. And they only needed 10, 15, 20 yards to get that game into overtime. Who knows what happens then? But the decision-making has to change from Jalen Hurts, period. He admitted as much. Great, fantastic. Let's see you actually put it together. Now, the play calling side of things. Brian Johnson, look, if Sean Desai lost his play calling privileges, Brian Johnson has to lose his play calling privileges, period. This offensive play calling is atrocious. It was so bad, and I'm not a Manning cast guy. I think they're funny, but I'm not going to watch a game with Eli and Peyton Manning doing their clown show over the top, especially on my team. But they're interviewing Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey sees them line up, and he goes, oh, they're running a quarterback draw to the left. Tight end's going to dip inside and be the lead blocker. Guess what the play was? So that's how unbelievably predictable this offense is. Something has to change. We can't look at Sean Desai and go, you can't call plays, but Brian Johnson, you're fine with it. If I see one more quarterback draw or halfback draw on 3rd and 6, I'm going to break my TV. It boggles my mind. I feel like I could play with 4th graders on Madden and have a tougher time diagnosing plays than Brian Johnson. And something has to change. With that being said, that's all I got. I'll get into the outlook of the Eagles when we get to the game that we'll be talking about. Because like I said, if I get rolling, I won't stop. So I got to pull the handbrake, get the U-turn ready, and start looking ahead to week 16. And that's what we're going to do right now. As always, we're going to start chronologically. Thursday night football. I believe this is one of the last Thursday night games. I know there isn't one the last weekend. So either the second to last or the last Thursday night game. 2 7-7 teams, massive playoff implications, if you can believe it. It's the New Orleans Saints. They're heading across country to face the Los Angeles Rams. The spread here has the Rams as 4-point favorites, and the over-under is 45. Raider Jim, I will give you the honors to get us started. Saints at Rams.
Sure. Well, last week, the Saints didn't let me down. They made me look bad because I didn't think they were going to come out and throw 24 points on the board, but they did. 17 of those points in the second half. And again, they were playing the New York Giants, the hapless Giants, who had just put together a 3-game winning streak. And they looked like maybe they were riding the ship, at least, to make a fair showing towards the end of the season here. But then they returned to true form. They got 3 points in the first quarter, 3 points in the second quarter, and they didn't score the rest of the game, losing 24-6. However, on the other side of this game, you've got the Rams, who, as we already said, Rams are hanging in there trying to get into the playoffs, and they're playing at home. Now, this is interesting because I know we are going to have rain on Thursday night. Southern California is supposed to have rain. I don't know if we're supposed to have lightning. We are supposed to have thunder. I'm just wondering how it's going to affect the game, even if they can close the lid or any of that good stuff. and they have too much lightning, is that going to be one of those things where it just delays and delays and prolongs the game? Either way, I think it's going to be all Rams in this one. I think their defense is going to be able to put it together, keep New Orleans in check. Watch for a nice passing game by the Rams. I think that's going to be their strong suit come Thursday night. 7-7, they're going to improve to 8-7. At -4, I will go ahead and take a half a point and give it New Orleans +4.5. I think it's going to be more of a field goal game, if anything. And over under 45, I will go over 44.5 on this one because I think we will see points on the board.
Yeah, I agree. I'm ashamed to admit that I lost 2 money line bets on the New York Giants and the Chicago Bears last week. Yeah, that's my weekend went. But yeah, the Saints came out and they played a lot better than normal. But I think that was also the Giants maybe coming back to earth, like you somewhat alluded to. As I've always said, once film gets out on guys, that's when you really start to know if they're a good quarterback or not. Not to say Tommy DeVito isn't, but last week did not go very well for him. But yeah, the Saints looked really good, not just offensively, but I was also impressed with their defense, which is something I've been they've been good. They've been, average to maybe above average, but this is a team that I think when you look at the roster construction, you look at Dennis Allen, you have to look and go, look, this defense has to carry us. And they haven't done that. And I think that's why they're 7-7. A lot to play for both of these teams. I like the Rams here, though. I think the Rams are in a situation. I want to see 2 playoff matchups this year. I want to see the Rams go to Detroit. I want to see Jared Goff go back to Detroit. Matthew Stafford go back to Detroit. Hopefully get the ovation he so greatly deserves and see how that game goes. And then on the flip side, I want to see Joe Flacco return to Baltimore and eliminate the Ravens and just complete the cycle of just nightmarish stuff with the Ravens. But anyways, in terms of this game, I think the Rams get the job done. I'll ride this up even further. I mean, I think the Rams are going to take care of business. I think they're going to dominate. I just look at the Saints as a very inconsistent team, and the Rams might be maybe the second or third hottest team in football right now, maybe behind the Niners. And, maybe if you want to put the Ravens, might be the second best team behind the 49ers. So I like the Rams here. And I do like the over. I do think we are going to see some points being scored, especially, indoors on that turf. It's interesting. I don't know, because it is technically the sides are open. And so I do wonder if we do get lightning, do they shut it down? Because at the same time, you can't have people walking the concourse. Right. So you may have to do some sort of delay. Even if the players aren't affected, there may be other situations. So keep an eye on that. Hopefully the rain will hold off until I'm home tomorrow, but we'll see how that goes. But I like the Rams and the over in that one, 45. Moving on to a Christmas, both of our teams playing on Christmas. Nice little special for both of us, but it will be the Las Vegas Raiders. They're 6-8. They're heading to Arrowhead to face the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 9-5. 10-point spread in this one. Kansas City is the favorite. And the over-under 41. Rain is expected according to Roto Weather. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Raiders at Chiefs.
Okay, Raider Nation, I love you all, and given my age, I've been carrying my card a lot longer than most of you. So let's not start patting each other on the ass about last week because you went into the playground and you beat up the weakest kid out there. Okay, you took care of the Chargers. It was everything I thought it would be, and it's okay. It was something that the Raider fans deserve to see. The Raider players deserve that one game. But guess what? Just like we talked about the Giants coming back down to earth and planting their feet after their 3-game winning streak, it's going to happen. Raiders are going to be right back to where they were. They're going into Kansas City, a mad Patrick Mahomes. Apparently, he finally got a little bit vocal about his wide receiver and saying, this nonsense has to stop. 10-point spread, yeah, I can see that. Even though the Raiders defense is playing okay, and they have actually been keeping them in the game, The play calling, as you alluded to with your Eagles, the play calling for Kansas City is going to be a little bit different than you would see against those hapless Chargers from last week, who had nothing to play for and had their rookie quarterback in there. Kansas City's going to come out, take care of business. I'll take a half point, make it Kansas City minus 9.5. As far as the over/under, I think it's going to go over the 41 because Raiders might be able to put up a couple touchdowns, but I don't see them going crazy. I do see Patrick Mahomes putting up 28 points, no problem.
I think that's the magic number for the over. I agree. I like the over. I think if Kansas City gets to 28, I see this 28-14, 28-17 in that. And maybe some garbage time help as well. I'm going to do the same thing. Yeah, by that half a point, Kansas City minus 9.5. It's not too often that we're talking week 16 or late December football, and we're talking about Kansas City as a 3 seed. And even you look at, Denver, maybe not so much, but even they might have to look in the mirror and say, look, the division isn't locked up either. Denver has, a very easy game this weekend. However, you just never know. But I think Kansas City gets the job done here. I think at this point, it's more about them, as you said, like their play calling. They need to button themselves up. They have their ticket to the dance, not technically, but they know they're going to get there. For them now, it's getting the cufflinks in the right direction. Like they just need to button things up. And I tell you, if this offense can figure it out, the defense is also really good. My only concern with the over here would be the rain. But I've seen a lot of rain games this year, and even I go back to the Baltimore Buffalo game. I think that was a few weeks back or whatever, and it was a shootout in a pouring rain. So I don't know. I'm still going to be okay with that. I do believe this is the morning game, right? 10 a.m.
My family hopes so.
Yeah, I know, because I know I'm
and
125. I'm 125, and then the Monday night is Baltimore, San Francisco. I'm just wondering if we have the normal 10, 125, 5 o'clock, at least here on the West Coast rundown. But
yeah, it's a 10 a.m. game.
Okay, yeah. So it's a nice little Christmas, spread your day out, and it'll all be good. Hopefully my Christmas isn't ruined too much, but we shall see. We'll get to that momentarily. But moving on, this is going to be one of the Saturday games. We have Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday football. So just to keep that, especially if you're in the fantasy playoffs, make sure you get your things set on Saturday as well. But Buffalo at 8-6, they are heading to Los Angeles to face the new look Chargers, at least at the head coach position. I'll be honest, I don't know who the head coach is, but I know who isn't the head coach. That is, of course, Brandon Staley. Survived for maybe 20, I'd say 18 hours. After that game went final, he was fired 18 hours after, which was longer than I expected. But the Bills are 10.5-point favorites on the road. And 43.5 is the over/under. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Buffalo at the Chargers.
Yeah, now I've been staying away from these double-digit spreads all season long. After the first couple weeks, I just don't like them. But as you heard the game previous, the Kansas City one, give me that half point down to 9.5. I'm good. Buffalo minus 10.5. After what I saw from the Chargers last Thursday, I don't care if they fired the coach, the GM, and brought in a couple new guys for the last 3 weeks of the season. It's not going to get any better. They've got the same personnel out there, and there's the issue. They've got the same personnel out there against a team who's going to come in and play on a dry field, nice and cozy, no elements, and they have to win. These guys are in a must-win situation. The Chargers aren't even of the caliber to play the spoiler. Last year, maybe. If they were fighting for a position in the playoffs, maybe. That's not the case now. Chargers are the bottom of the barrel in the AFC West. Buffalo's going to come out and take care of business. If you want that half point just to make it 10, go ahead. Buffalo's going to cover 43.5. I would have even said, there's no way it's going to go over because the Chargers aren't going to score. It's not going to matter because the Chargers put up enough points last week, but they gave up 63. And I think Buffalo's going to come out and probably roll up 42, no problem. So give me -10 Buffalo, give me over 43, and I'm going to call it a Saturday.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's as low, and it's not a low number, but it
Right.
is for this matchup. You have Buffalo. First and foremost, when it comes to playing in LA against the Chargers, you can throw the 3-point spread, kind of like whatever, just for being home field. Buffalo fans, it's going to be 70-30. I know our friend, or one of the great friends, Joe Pinella, is going to be up there with the Bills backers. It's going to be almost as loud as it was last week. So 10.5. Yeah, I'll ride this all the way up to 13.5. Honestly, I think this is at minimum a 2-touchdown victory for the Bills. The question for me is, the magic number for the Chiefs was 28. I think Buffalo's magic number to hit the over here is 35. And I could see that happening. But I could even see them winning 38-3. And guess what? We're not hitting it. So that's where I get a little worried. I am very, very in on Buffalo, not just in this game, but this is a team. This is the quintessential, they got hot at the right time team right now. Josh Allen is playing MVP caliber. He's cleaned up the turnovers. It started with that game in Philly. They should have beat the Eagles. And that was their moment where they were like, okay, we can figure this out. I think they dominate here. I would be surprised if it's less than 2 touchdowns. So give me Buffalo 10.5 all day. I will take the over. Garbage time is big, I think, in these games. We saw it last week with Vegas and the Chargers. I think they ended up with 21 points. Easton Stick doesn't score 21 points in a close game. I'm sorry, with all due respect to him. So I will take the over. I think we do see maybe some 2 late touchdowns when the Bills have the backups in, just, trying to figure that one out. But yeah, it's going to be, I don't know what time this game is, but if it's at the time of church where I'll be Saturday night or Christmas. Oh no, Saturday night. Sunday night is Christmas Eve. I take that back. Yeah. I guess I will have to watch this game. Ugh. But yeah, I think Buffalo takes care of business. Moving on.
And check your lines on that, folks, because I just pulled up Vegas Insider. They've moved the line to -12.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was kind of surprised when I typed that in, and when I put these lines in, I use Bovada and what was it, Tuesday, when I put these in. Yeah, so very, very, it's almost like the first line. So yeah, make sure. But like I said, I'd still ride that up. I might even go up to 16.5. This is just crazy to me. But yeah, I think Buffalo handles their business majorly. Or even, find Buffalo and maybe 4 others and find a teaser. I think you'll be perfectly fine there. But yeah, moving on to the final AFC West matchup of the weekend, and possibly our first snow game of the year. It is the New England Patriots, who are a paltry 3-11. Oh, how the times have changed. They're heading to Mile High to face the Denver Broncos, who are 7-7. Their playoff chances took a bit of a hit last week, but they are still in the hunt. The Broncos are going to be 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is 34.5. Once again, I think the snow will affect that. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Patriots at Broncos.
Yeah, here we go again. What we just dealt with the last 3-4 weeks, what Denver team is going to show up. That's one of those erratic stocks when I use my stock market analogy. You probably just want to do a hold on this. You don't want to buy them. You don't want to sell them if you're already holding their stock. However, in this particular game against the Patriots, they should be able to right their wrongs of last week, especially at home, especially on the holiday weekend. The snow will be a factor. If it happens, that's going to affect the over-under. I'll take a 0.5 point and stay under 35. Although Russell Wilson can make things happen, but I don't think that's going to be the case this week, because I don't think New England is going to be too successful against Denver. 7-7, they'll end up winning this one. I'm concerned, can they cover the 6.5? I really am. For all intents and purposes, if you look at it logically, they should cover. But logic has gotten me nowhere this season.
Nope.
So I just don't know. But I think I would go ahead 0.5 point on both sides of this. keep it at under 35. Keep it at Denver wins by 6, -6, and that's going to be it.
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the last game we talked about. Now, obviously, like I said, the first line I put down 10.5, probably should have checked that. But yeah, and that's moving up. But even that, I think, is more clear of a line than this one. Mainly because Denver, like you said, has been so unbelievably inconsistent, and New England, you know, they
So have
they
they.
played a lot better than I thought against Kansas City. And probably should have lost by more than 10. Once again, that was my only bet win of the weekend. I was telling Raider Jim before we got going, thanks to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid kneeling on it with like 30 seconds left and just turning the ball over on downs instead of kicking a field goal to save my Patriots plus 10.5. But I have more faith in Denver and Sean Payton and the fact that Denver is playing for their playoff lives. I don't believe that the NFL players care about a draft pick, and obviously the coaching staff doesn't either, but everyone wins on both of these fan bases if Denver wins this game, because New England wants a high draft pick and Denver wants to try and see if they can sneak into the playoffs. Now, the 6.5, that's where it comes down. I like what you did, Raider Jim. Give me a half a point. Give me Denver -6. I think they win by a touchdown. I'm comfortable there. I'm going to go under on this one. I just think New England's strength is their defense. I also like what Denver's defense has done. You also deal with altitude. New England doesn't go to Denver a ton. You got a young team in New England. It will be Sunday night. Place going to be, as rocking as it can be. So I'll stay under 34.5, but would not be surprised to see a late touchdown or field goal kind of come back and kick me. But the snow scares me, and it's mainly because I haven't seen a snow game this year yet, or at least a heavy snow game. But all right, folks, moving on to my neck of the woods. It is the NFC East. This will be, as we kind of alluded to, the middle game on Christmas Day, 125. Yes, sir.
Keep it a family show.
Yes, yeah, I know. Believe me. Well, I got all the frustrations out. Believe me, I got through. I probably should have given the warning before when I talked about him. Now it's more looking on the outlook and what's coming, and that's definitely a lot more forgiving. But I do appreciate the reminder. Family show, family show, family show. The Giants at 5-9, they are heading to Philadelphia to face the 10-4 Eagles. The Eagles are 11.5-point favorites, and the over-under sits at 42. I'm just going to come out and say it right now. The Philadelphia Eagles are not 11.5 points better than any team in the NFL the way they've been playing lately. So I'm taking the Giants -11 or 10 plus 11.5. I might even do a full emotional hedge and sprinkle some on the money line just because if it's going to get bad, I might as well make a little bit of money. I do expect the Eagles to win this game. I think their next, obviously, 3 games, the Eagles have the easiest final 3 games of any team in the NFL. Home to the Giants, home to the Cardinals. Actually, I don't know where they are. They might be, I think they are home to the Cardinals. Either way, it doesn't really matter, right? So Cardinals and then at Giants is how they finish it up. 2 games in 3 weeks against a division opponent. Always a little weird, but I think for this game, the Eagles do handle their business. I will say, though, this being a home game, if the Eagles go 3-and-out on their first 2 drives, it is going to get very loud with a lot of boos raining down. There are a lot of people outside of Philadelphia telling Eagles fans to calm down. No, we are not going to calm down because we've seen this team play the last pretty much. This was a crazy stat. Monday night was the first time the Eagles went into the half with a lead since the Philadelphia Phillies took a 3-2 lead on the Arizona Diamondbacks in the NLCS. That's how long ago it's been. We are in the middle of December. That happened late October. So there you go. Just throwing it out there. So there's a lot of frustration in Eagle land. So just understand that. In terms of the over-under here, I think we stay under. I'm not totally sold on the Eagles' offense overall. And while their defense has struggled, once again, the only problem I had last week was James Bradbury just terrible coverage on the final drive and the missed tackles. Other than that, I think they finally at least made a little bit of headway on the defensive line. Got after Drew Lock. But yeah, I'm going to stay under here. And, you know, if the Eagles drop this game, next week won't be a family friendly show. I'm just saying it right now. Or I'll have to break out the bleep button and go deep into editing because it'll be DEFCON 5 or whatever the highest one is. I think DEFCON, I don't know, but it'll be the highest DEFCON there is in Birdland. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Giants at Eagles.
Yeah, very interesting. When you said money line, I pulled up my page so I could see where the numbers are sitting right now on Vegas Insider. That money line has moved from 355 to 670.
Oh, yes.
That's a lot of action. And it also, the spread has moved from, it started at -7.5. Now it's at -11.5.
Okay.
And then the over-under has dropped from 47 to 42.5. So there's people are pretty much writing off the Giants, and rightly so. I think the Eagles take care of this one. Do they win by 2 touchdowns? Probably. Normally, I wouldn't take the over/under or the spread in this one because, again, I don't like anything over 10 or over 11, things like that. But in this instance, slight chance of rain. I think I will. I think Philadelphia knows that they're in a position. They're in the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs, but they're in that they've got to prove it to themselves type of a game. So there's one of their statement games, and I think they're going to come out and make that statement. Over under at 43, I really like. If I look at this Vegas Insider line, 42.5, give me another half point on that, make it under 43. I'm with you. I just don't see either team putting up a lot of points on Christmas night. Now, the other thing that's not on your sheet, and it's not on Vegas Insider, but it's on mine. Right now, I'm giving 3-2 that Santa Claus gets set on fire before the evening's over. Just saying. And people can say, you don't have to look back very far on the highlight reels to see that. And one of the best people that ever told that story was when he used to be here in San Diego for a while. When Philly Billy would relive that one, it was just the best story he told.
You know, that's so funny you say that because there's a shot of when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And if you're from San Diego or Southern California and you listen to sports talk radio in the late 90s, early 2000s, Philly Billy is a staple. Philly, and he, of course, has relocated back to Philadelphia. But I was watching, you know, a montage of when the Eagles won the Super Bowl back in 2017. And they show Merrill Reese and Seth Joyner. They're the announcers for the Eagles radio. And I looked and who is that? He's the spotter or the right-hand man for yes, Merrill Reese or that production. I don't know if that's still happening, but anyways, that was just funny you said that because I remember looking, I was like, hey, I think that's Philly Billy Wendell. But yeah, Santa Claus probably should not make an appearance because once again, yeah, the snowballs being thrown at Santa Claus, I believe that was because they brought him out at halftime in the middle of like a 28-0 game. And it's just like, you can't bring that out in front of the wild animals. You got to read the room, folks. But yeah, if there are Santa Clauses around and the Giants win this game, run. Then you're in the city of Philadelphia, run or derobe and shave as quickly as possible because you will be a target. You've been warned. Moving on to maybe the second best game of the weekend as a whole. Got a lot of really good ones, but this one record-wise and implication-wise very much so. It is one final thing I do want to say about the Eagles. The Eagles do technically control their own destiny. If they win the final 3 games, they will have got 2 more division wins. They have to beat the Giants twice. That will give them the tie break over the Cowboys. So they technically still do control their own destiny. Anyways, Dallas Cowboys at 10-4. They are heading to Miami to face the 10-4 Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are a 1.5-point favorite in this one. It is the over-under sits at 51.5. This is interesting. It's the first game ever, and this is kind of one of those really weird stats, but it's the first game ever week 16 or later with two teams with double-digit wins, but only a combined one over a team with a better record, better than 500 record. So the two teams that I don't think a whole lot of people are fully sold on, especially the Cowboys, their performance last week. The Bills really took it to them. I thought the Cowboys were going to go out and take care of business. I was wrong, but that's okay. So for about 24 hours, I felt good as an Eagles fan. But for the Cowboys and Dolphins in this one, I am interested to see how this goes because once again, it's Tua versus Dak. Two, I would say, rather inconsistent. Now, maybe not so much this year. Both quarterbacks have been very good. However, neither of these guys, I would be fully, always 100% feeling that I'm going to get their best. Is Tyreek going to play? Probably, but that's a big if because that changes a lot. I don't really worry about Miami against, I think it was the Jets this past week. They don't need Tyreek for the Jets. They will need him for the Cowboys. With that being said, I think the Cowboys get the job done. I don't know. I probably should be the one jumping off this bandwagon and things like that. But maybe it's just that butt whooping the Cowboys put on the Eagles. I just think they're a good football team. And I think it's more than, they can't win on the road. I just think they ran into a buzzsaw in Buffalo. And I think they right the ship and they face the Dolphins, who the Dolphins, by the way, also have the toughest 3-game stretch to end this season. So hence why that NFC or AFC East is definitely in the balance. But give me Dallas money line. I'm not going to mess around with the spread. And I'm going to take the over, and that's only because I want this to be a shootout. I think the Cowboys defense is good enough to keep this under. However, we might see some turnovers here or there, good field position. But I do think we are going to see plenty of points being scored. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Cowboys at Miami.
Yeah, I happened to see right before we opened our link to record this, the coach made a statement that Tyreek Hill, while he hasn't been practicing, it's all protocol to make sure he's 100% when kickoff comes, against the Cowboys. They very much intend for him to be out there. Now, of course, you're not going to tell the Cowboys ahead of time, no, there's no way he's going to play. The other thing is, as long as you get him on the field, you don't have to target him so that he gets hit. He just has to be on the field because he is going to draw attention. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Miami's offense is going to come out firing, and I can just see them. I think they're going to have enough schemes and enough looks against Dallas that they're going to get the job done. They're going to get plenty of points on the board. Definitely this one goes under. Give me a half a point on that, though. We'll keep it to go over 51. I see this Miami being a home game present for the fans, and I'll take the money line, though. I'm not going to mess around with that point and a half, just like you aren't. But boy, is this could end up being the game of the week, the game of the weekend, I should say. If not, the final game we're going to talk about in a couple minutes.
Yeah, this is going to answer a lot of questions for two teams that I think have maybe the most questions, at least the top teams. Obviously, if you're 7-7, you have plenty of questions. But in terms of the true contenders, these have to be maybe the two biggest question marks out there, mainly just because they haven't beaten good teams consistently. So I believe they're 1-6 combined against teams over 500 currently. So just keep that in mind. But moving on to the final game in the NFC East side of things, it is, we got to talk about it, folks. It's the Washington Commanders. They're heading to East Rutherford to face the New York Jets. Jets are 5-9, and guess what? The Jets are going to come in as 3-point favorites in this one. The over-under is 38. I think a lot of people maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago had this game circled as the return of Aaron Rodgers. I haven't heard that. So I think for everyone involved, Aaron included, it's probably best to just kind of unplug that from the dream. I believe they have a 1% chance of making the playoffs. It's the old Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. No, there really isn't. But I do think the Jets get the job done here. I want to preface this by saying I have nothing but respect for Ron Rivera. But his time management this past weekend might have been the worst I've ever seen. and once again, please refer back to my first statement as well. But it was bad. It took them, I believe, almost 3 minutes to score from first and goal on the 1 yard line when they were down 14 points with, I think, 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, to where like you need urgency. It's not like it's the first quarter where it's like, all right, get it done. There was no urgency. And I'm worried that everyone in that locker room and in that front office has given up, because once again, that's what all the signs point to. The trade deadline, they look like they gave up. Ron Rivera, as we said, is essentially a dead man walking. It's the worst kept secret that he is going to be fired at the end of the season. I don't blame him for being laissez-faire about it. With that being said, I'm going to take the Jets here. I think the Jets defense has got something, cooking. I think they're going to get plenty of turnovers. I'm not going to watch this game. This is going to be a terrible football game. Who's going to start quarterback for both of these teams? Honestly, it's Jacoby Brissett looked actually better than Sam Howell. And then, of course, you got the Zach Wilson / Trevor Siemian / I don't even know who the other guy is. It's bad. It's bad for both of these teams. But with that being said, look, the spread's 3, so everyone knows what I'm going to do. Give me a half a point. Jets -2.5. Hope for that field goal to come through late. I'm going to go under 38. I don't think either of these teams, especially with that Jets defense, I don't think either of these teams get anywhere near the magic number. I mean, 17-14 might be my cap for this one, and we're still 7 points clear. I don't know. I don't see it on this one. Give me the Jets -2.5 and the under 38. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, now if I'm not mistaken, is Carlson the one Jets quarterback? Is that correct? Wilson, excuse me.
Wilson, yes, Zach Wilson.
Apparently he's in concussion protocol.
Okay.
So definitely
You're right.
isn't going to
Yes.
be him.
It started out as dehydration, and then it like upgraded to concussion protocol.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I did read right before we went on is that they have said you will not see Aaron Rodgers until 2024.
Okay.
If you see him then, even, because there was another thing that said Aaron Rodgers is really just looking at calling it retirement and leaving it at that. We'll see. I mean, that, but again, this is how papers get sold. Just throw something out there and have the ability to get it a headline, and somebody's going to pick it up and print it and read it. But I think the Jets are going to take care of business. I like it exactly the way you did, -2.5. The under on this one. Too bad for Ron Rivera. Like we've been big fans of Ron Rivera. We wanted to see him do well. He got Eric Bieniemy. We thought that was going to help out. It just hasn't helped out, and it's too bad. First and foremost for Ron Rivera. Too bad for the players. Too bad for that fan base, because they have really endured a lot these last few seasons. So we'll see what the future holds for the Commanders. But this weekend, let's just play it and get it over with.
Yeah, did our due diligence. Like I said, we cover all of our division here. So yeah, Jets and Commanders had to make the cut. But yeah, when it comes to the Jets, whether it's Trevor Siemian or Zach Wilson, you ask, oh, well, who's the better quarterback? I feel like that's kind of like asking what's the healthier option, Taco Bell or McDonald's? Like, well, neither of them are healthy.
Good point.
It's just take a pick. What do you like more? It's bad. And I think that's the right call on Aaron Rodgers, at least shutting him down till 2024. I don't believe that the last person in the world that I think would retire on an injury like this is Aaron Rodgers. But bless their hearts to whoever was, selling those papers and all that stuff, getting their clickbait. But I'm kind of excited to see. I wanted to see what Aaron Rodgers would put together with the Jets, especially with what this defense has done. I think they might be sniffing the playoffs right now. I don't think they'd be in the playoffs, but they'd be around. They'd be a lot better than they are right now with that defense. But once again, I just really hope that this doesn't cost Robert Saleh his job. I think he deserves a year with Aaron Rodgers. But anyway,
this isn't on him.
Yeah, right. It's not. He's also not in charge of player personnel, so you can also draw a line that he probably wanted to bench Zach Wilson a long time ago. He probably said, hey, can we go get a quarterback? Can we go get a Josh Dobbs? Can we go get a Jacoby Brissett? But unfortunately, he doesn't have that power, so hopefully he's not the one who has to take the axe when it's all said and done. But Final game we're going to be talking about is pretty much the capper of everything. It's going to be the capper of Christmas, the capper of Week 16. It is the possibly, as Raider Jim alluded to, possible Super Bowl preview. I don't believe it is either. But anyways, the Baltimore Ravens at 11-3, they are heading to the Bay Area to face the San Francisco 49ers, who are also 11-3, and the Niners, 5.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 46. Raider Jim, I'm going to give you the honors to get us started. Ravens at Niners.
Yeah, this is San Francisco's chance to really. We already know what Brock Purdy can do. This kid has come out and proved to everybody this entire season, win or take the 3 losses, but he wasn't a fluke last year. This kid is the deal. But I think the real statement this week is going to be to showcase the defense and their stopping ability, their ability to just go out and shut down other offenses when they really need to. 5.5, that seems like, wow, are you kidding me? But that's, look at the other side of the ball. You got Lamar Jackson. Doesn't matter. I think 5.5 is pretty reasonable. I see the 49ers winning by 6, no problem. So I'm not even going to bother with half points, anything like that. Give me the Niners at -5.5, and I'll take the line the way it is, the over-under. It's going to be under 46, though. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring going on.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a methodical kind of, 8 possessions per team.
Yeah. And the other thing is, no rain, but they are calling for fog. And now, let me tell you, again, you go back way, way back when only half of the households in the United States may have had color TV. There was a game, I'll never forget the game. It was in Baltimore, I believe, the old Baltimore Colts. And the fog was so bad, and it was, it had snowed on top of it all. They could not call the game because they couldn't see the numbers on the guys' jerseys. And I'm sure we're not looking at that kind of fog, but I'm just saying the fog impacts what you're able to do. There were high school games in San Diego this year where when they tried to show highlights and talk about it, they really couldn't because any footage they shot from the sidelines, that's all you saw was the fog.
I tell you, I mean, I don't want to say caught in fog, but I've had to drive through fog either late at night or early in the morning, and it'll
frightening.
It'll test you. Yeah, it'll test your mettle. You're driving through it, and it's kind of like, all right, like I hope that there's not a traffic jam up ahead, or I'm just kind of going along. But and also don't turn your brights on in those, it just makes it worse. But anyways, just little the only thing I think I remembered from driving school, except how to drive. But anyways, this one is very tough for me. I think not only is this going to be a possible Super Bowl preview, I think this game determines the MVP. Personally, I think Tyreek Hill should be MVP or Christian McCaffrey. I don't think we've seen a quarterback be head and shoulders above everybody else to be good enough to win the MVP. However, the MVP is now the best quarterback award. Fine. Okay. And then call it that, whatever. I think this is the decider right here. Obviously, there are a lot of people who are kind of poo-pooing Brock Purdy because he was, Mr. Irrelevant, which I still hate that term even before all this. But he's been the best, most consistent quarterback this season, period. Lamar might be number 2, more kind of what he does, with his legs. But I really do think, if we see Brock Purdy come out, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, the MVP's his. Same thing for Lamar Jackson. For the sake of this podcast and for all of you out there, I will make a pick, but this is one that I'll probably just have gotten home after leaving my mom's house. I got work on Tuesday, so I want to be, settled in by about 6:00 and just enjoy this one on my new TV that I'm going to be getting this Christmas that my mom wanted her company party. That'll be nice. But yeah, I'm just going to enjoy this, but for the sake of it, I'm going to take Baltimore plus 5.5. I just think, if you're giving me points for an 11-3 team, I'm just going to take them, not blindly, but I think they match up pretty well. I am concerned the difference in defenses. I know Baltimore defense has played well this year, but I just think San Francisco's defense is just on another level. it's so hard for me to get away from San Francisco, but I do think Baltimore can do enough to stay within 5.5, maybe by a half a point to get within 6, and maybe hope for a missed extra point or something like that. And you can sneak a push in. I don't know, but it's going to be one I think I just want to sit back and enjoy. Over under, as I said, under. I think this is a methodical game. Both teams look at this and say, let's keep their offense on the sideline as much as possible, and we just see kind of a grinded out 5-minute possession games type thing. So give me the under. But that is all we have for you. Raider Jim, your final thoughts for this episode of the NFL Weekly.
Final thoughts, and we call this first off the bench, and as Brandon Ferst aptly states it, somebody has to come off the bench, and we're the first ones to do so. And so usually we have somebody come in over the holidays and make a special appearance for a few. He sits in for a segment, and then he will also give a very, very, very needed, necessary public service announcement. However, our good friend, Officer Jim Betancourt, California Highway Patrol, is out of state this year. He's over in Nashville, I believe. He's over in Tennessee at his other house, enduring the snow. So I promised him I would get up off the bench and I'd make the public service announcement for him. It shouldn't be made just for the week of Christmas and New Year's. It should be how we live week in and week out from January 1 until December 31. And that is a real simple message. Be considerate of your family, your friends, and all the people on the roads with you. Do not drink and drive. You don't need that to have a good time. And if you do want to do that, and if you do want to have a good time with a couple beverages, all the libations, do so. But use Uber, use Lyft, designated driver. Just keep yourselves, your loved ones, and everybody around you safe. Don't drink and drive.
Amen. I can't emphasize that enough. As I've said, from the beginning, if you can afford to go to Chili's or the club or the bar and get wasted, you can afford an Uber home. And especially this time of year, at all times of the year, but especially this time of year, you don't want to be the reason that someone's loved one isn't sitting around the table for dinner on Christmas. And also too, it's been a little while. I'm not a big New Year's guy. I'm not even really a big drinker anymore, but I was never a big New Year's guy. But I do remember, I don't know if they still do it, but a lot of places still, will offer free rides on New Year's. Not every day, and obviously if that does happen, tip your driver, whatever, look out for them that way. But at least here in San Diego, I know there have been in the past, whether it's cab companies or buses or something, kind of free rides.
I think the trolley runs for free.
Thank you. That might be what it is too. Just whatever it is, just don't ruin someone and yourselves. Obviously, if something were to happen to you as well, your family would really bear the brunt of that. They want to celebrate this holiday season, not mourn. So that's my final thought too. That was going to be mine to remind everyone, because we are at that moment where the holiday parties. I'll be over at Raider Jim's on Friday. That you just got to be careful. You got to be very considerate, and just be aware of what's going on around you. And like I said, just don't be the reason that someone doesn't sit around their family's dinner table this Christmas. So with that being said, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the NFL Weekly, presented by the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. It's time for y'all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to y'all very soon. Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all.